Hello, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about a very important concept in programming. We're going to be taking a look at what is object-oriented programming. So many of you might know that Java is an object-oriented language. What that basically means is that the programmers who use Java, they can create things like classes, objects and methods, which helps them organize all of their code. So let's take a look at what each of these terms mean, and we're going to be starting off with objects. Alright then. So an object is basically anything that can be represented in the real world. For example, mango, that's an object, right? And Toyota, that's also an object. Or maybe you have a friend called John. He is also basically an object. And I'm going to write these down so that you don't forget them later on. So objects are things that can be represented in the real world. So examples are like so. Mango, then apple, these are objects. Then we have Toyota, the car, right? So then that's also an object. And we can also have a person, for example, John. He can also be an object. And we can have another person, we'll call her Mary. She is also an object, alright? So these 5 things, they are all examples of objects, and I've just written them from the top of my head. You can also find a gazillion different examples if you just look around. So class. A class is basically what we need to create an object. So a class is a blueprint for an object. For example, the class for mango and apple is fruit, because mango and apple are both 2 different kinds of fruit and they both belong to that category. The class for mango and apple is fruit. So the blueprint for making mango and apple is fruit. Next, the class for Toyota. Since Toyota belongs to the group called cars, it belongs to the class called cars, we're going to be writing that. Class for Toyota is car. We could have also written vehicle. It wouldn't have been wrong in any way because Toyota is also a vehicle. Next, the class for John and Mary is human. Alright, because they are both people and they both belong to the category called human. So that was the concept for class. And now let's get started on method. Methods are actions, the specific actions that every object can perform. So let's write that down. For example, the object Toyota, which belongs to the class car, what can Toyota basically do? So it can accelerate, right? So methods for Toyota. It can accelerate. And since it's a car, it can also park. So that can also be a method. And then we can also find methods for John and Mary. So methods for John and Mary. Both of these belong to the human class. What can humans do? So they can walk, that's a method. They can talk, and we can also include another one. For example, they can sleep. That's also a method for the human class. So I hope the concept is clear now. Methods are the things that every object can perform. An object is basically anything that can be represented in the real world, and a class is a blueprint for making a specific object. So now we're going to be taking a look at the relation between these three and how to write code, Java code, for all three of them. Let's get started. Alright then, so the first thing that I'm going to do is create a class. So I want a class called car, and it's really easy, you know, creating a class. And the syntax is like this: public class car and 2 curly brackets, and you're done. You've created a class in Java just with this simple sentence and 2 curly brackets. Now I want my class to have an attribute called speed. So I'm going to declare that attribute right now. Int speed is equal to 50. I've given my attribute variable, a value of 50 because, you know, I just wanted to. So this is basically my car class. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be creating an object from the class. This is also called creating an instance of a class. It's basically the same thing. Alright, so I want to create my object in a separate class, and I want to name that class CarTest. Okay, so my new class is called CarTest, and this class, it has to have a main method, you know, because we're going to be creating an object in this one. Okay then, so we have our new class for creating an object. We have our main method. Now this sentence right here creates our object. So you start off with the class name, which is car. Then you have to write the object name. So I want my object to be called Toyota. Then we just follow the syntax. And for the time being, these brackets that we use, they're just going to be empty. And in the next video, we'll see, you know, the purpose behind these brackets. So what I've done here is I've created an object of car called Toyota. Very simple. Next, what I want to do is I want to print the speed of Toyota. So printing the speed of object Toyota. So we're just going to write it very simply here. System.out.println Toyota.speed. So what I've basically done is I've written my object name dot the variable that I want to print, which was speed. And remember that we already had a speed variable in our class. So this will output 50 because our speed variable was already 50. Alright, so we've learned how to create a class, we've learned how to create an object and, you know, access attributes from our class. Now let's start to create a method. Alright, so we're going to be creating a method in our class, and I'm going to put that on this side here, and let's delete that, and now let's create a method. So the syntax for creating a method is as follows: public. Okay, so I'm just going to write creating a method. Public void, and let's say our method's name is going to be accelerate, because, you know, a car can accelerate, so that's a valid method name. And whenever my car accelerates, I want its speed to increase by 50. Alright, 50, there we go. Oh no, I want its speed to increase by 10. That will be easier. So we've created our first method, and the method's name is accelerate. And what this method does is that it increases the speed of our car by 10. So in our code here, let's call our method. I'm going to be removing these brackets, and we're going to be calling the method. So the process for calling a method is simple. You start off with the object name, then you place another dot exactly the same way that we, access the attribute, and then we write the method name. So accelerate. And then we have 2 empty brackets, because as you can see, our method also had empty brackets. So the output when we write this, if I print my speed again, the output that we'll get is now 60. Because since we called the accelerate method, speed has already been increased by 10, and we'll be getting an output of 60. Alright, so that was it for today. What we've learned so far is what a class, object, and method is, how to create a class, how to create an object, and how to create a method. Alright, in the next tutorial, we'll take a deeper look at object-oriented programming, and